Hey y'all, it's Rashawn, and this is episode 2 of my Starting Over Softly and Boldly series, Rebuilding After Heartbreak. In the first episode, we kind of discussed how we met, how we fell in love, and then just kind of that whole process of beginning of our relationship. Today, we are diving into my teen pregnancy, that first heartbreak and initial sign of betrayal, and then still saying yes when he asked me to be his wife. So let's jump in. So I can't remember off the top of my head where I left off, but in 10th grade, when I was a sophomore, we were still skipping school, sneaking around to spend time together. And right before Christmas break, we had sex. And then I went to visit my mom in Louisiana. By the time I came back in January, I noticed my boobs felt a little off. And then it dawned on me that I didn't get my period. And then it was like that instinctively way to just touch, I guess, my wound, and it felt tender. And then I realized, oh shit, I'm 16 and pregnant. I told my mom's friend who I was living with at the time that I thought I was pregnant. She took me to go get some pregnancy tests. I took about 7 before we called to tell my mama. And the initial call, she was chill. It seemed like a normal, healthy reaction you would want from your mom that felt very like reassuring and supportive. And of course, knowing my mom, that was a warm up, because maybe 30 minutes later I get the call with the cussing out, the degrading, all the things. But I was terrified. I can't think of anything other than terrified, because that's not what I wanted for me. And I know people go wonder, like, well, why didn't you use protection? I did ask my mom to take me to get birth control before she moved away, but she was very adamant that she was not giving me permission to have sex by allowing me to go on birth control. So I kind of just pulled and prayed. I wasn't a virgin at the time I asked her, but in her head, she still felt she had some control over that situation. So yeah, I called him. He wouldn't answer his phone. I spent the next couple of days trying to call to let him know. And then I remember being in ROTC in class, and I realized he still wasn't answering the phone. He wasn't texting me back. So I finally just texted him, like, I don't know why you're not answering your phone, but I was just trying to let you know that I'm pregnant. And his response was, oh, well, I don't know what you want me to do with this information. I already have a fiance and a baby. So, yeah. And that was like, what? You've been my boyfriend for 2 years. When did you have a fiance? How did you have a baby? And then it was just like all the spiraling of, oh my God, I'm 16, I'm pregnant, I'm in high school, and I'm finding this out. You know, it was just a very jarring thing in the middle of the school days, and I have to transition and go to English class. And I remember my best friend at the time, Siobhan, like, saw me in the hallway, I guess looking like I was ready to crumble, because she just came up and gave me a hug, and I like folded, crumpled, buckled, everything in her arms. But I couldn't bring myself to tell her that I'm pregnant. I just told her what he said to me. You know, and of course it was the usual friends, girl, fuck him type stuff. And yeah, so I called, my mama called me when I got out of school that day, demanding his mama phone number so she can have her like a woman-to-woman conversation about what they were going to do about the situation. And I gave her the number. She ended up calling me back maybe an hour later, screaming at me, saying that his mom said that he told her the baby wasn't his. I wasn't even his girlfriend. I was just a girl he was sleeping with. I was sleeping with other guys and all this stuff. So my mom yelling at me about being a hoe and accusing this boy of getting me pregnant when I'm like, I wasn't. It just was a really tough way to be going through that and feel like people were against me and not on my side at the same time. And then, not that I was surprised by the way my mama acted, that behavior was typical for her. It was just more of a, in that situation, she should have believed me. What she said, she told to his mom that my child said it is, so it is, but that's not how she treated me with her reaction. So she came from Louisiana, picked me up, and moved me to Louisiana with her from Georgia. I called them, and I just like screamed and hollered and was like, I can't, why would you tell your mama some stuff like that and you know that's not true? I don't understand. Like, haven't you hurt me enough with the other shit that you would now add this extra layer? And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna just tell my baby you died. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be a part of their life. We gonna move on. You know, don't worry about me. And then right after I said that, there still was that part of me that was like, I'm having a baby. I want a family. And I asked him about this, you know, alleged fiance and baby. And I'm like, oh, remember that name I saw in that envelope in your room? Is that the baby's name or whatever? And he's like saying, yeah, all these things. And I remember saying like, but I love you. And it was very much a nonchalant, it is what it is demeanor from him. And I remember, and I tell myself, this felt like the ultimate babe. And I swore to myself on my life after that experience, I would never let a man make me feel that way again. But I asked him, even after all that was said and done, after calling me a hoe, telling me he had a family and a life and he didn't want nothing to do with me, I said, if it don't work out with you and her, would you be willing to come be a family with me and our baby? And he flat out said no. Nope. He didn't hesitate. He didn't think about it. He didn't flinch. He didn't take a breath. It was like a nope. And it was like, okay, that's fine. I deleted his number, hung up the phone. You know, we had flip phones, so the phone. That was it for me. I went with my mama, sad and shamed. She was embarrassed of me being pregnant. She'll say she wasn't, but I could tell the way she wanted me to wear baggier clothes and not have my stomach out and all these things. But we were in Louisiana, back in my hometown, and it was all the feeling of everybody felt like I finally got knocked down and paid by being the one that got pregnant. I'm not sure what was the weird energy. Part of me feel like it had more to do with their dislike for my mama and the way she carried herself that made them feel inferior, that they just transferred it on me because I had the same energy. But yeah, it was about a month of me being gone, starting a new school. For sure, still heartbroken, devastated, just with my head down. You know, at the new school, it was like, oh, you're pregnant, you got to take these classes. And it was like human development, where they give you the little baby to take care of. It's like other people just start deciding what life was going to look like for me now because I was pregnant. And about a month into being gone, he called me, and it was just like a slow, hey, I was just calling to check on you, see how you and the baby were doing type call. And it just started being like every day he was just trying to call and talk like we used to talk. And I'm like, what's up? What do you want? And he's like, you know, I'm sorry. I did end up telling my mama the truth, and that I lied. And I lied about having a fiance and a baby. While I did have another girlfriend, we weren't married and we don't have a baby together. But I'm sorry, and I still love you, and I just wanted to know if you'd give me another chance. And me being 16 and pregnant and miserable with my circumstance was like, yes, some good might come out of this. Yes, I'll give you a chance. And we kind of picked up back where we were before, talking every day, laughing. And now in hindsight, I'm like, I let that shit smooth over in that moment way too easily. But I'm pretty sure operating at a age 16 bandwidth and being pregnant, something played a part in that. But of course, hindsight always 2020. And at some point, maybe like in the next month of that, this had to be around March, he called me and he was like, just so you know, she said she's pregnant too, the other girl. And I'm like, he was like, but we don't believe her. We think she lying. She's just saying that because you're pregnant and I chose you over her. So, you know, whatever. And I it's just like, okay, well, you know, if we'll figure it out. You know, if it's true, we'll figure it out or whatever. And it's like, yeah, she's supposed to be going to the doctor or whatever. And in this time, my mom was getting ready to transition to moving back to Georgia. So I knew we'd be able to like start being back to see each other. So we made the transition back to Georgia that summer. And it was after my mom was like, well, he did this to you. Now he's responsible for paying your co-pays and taking you to your doctor's appointments. So he would take me to my doctor's appointments. She was pregnant. And her baby was due, my son was due September 11th. Her daughter was due October 31st. Like, that's how close he was. And I remember reaching out to her on MySpace, telling her, like, I knew nothing about you. I really thought he was my boyfriend. We had been together 2 years, and I don't want any drama issues. I'm just trying to like make the best of the situation. And if anything, you know, we should get together and beat his ass because he did this to us. Like, he played both of us. But I just don't want, you know, like no drama. And her initial reply was like, oh yeah, you know, you're right. But her actions were, and have always been, here we are 21 years later, still the feeling that I took her man, I took him from her, and everything I had was hers and I took it. So, and that's the way she treated and approached me. And I mean, MySpace drama, Facebook drama, phone drama, it just got real crazy. By the time school rolled around junior year, I maybe made it the first month, and by the end of August, it was like showing signs that it was time to have my baby. So I gave birth. I had my son September 3rd, 2026. In my junior year of high school, I was beyond happy and afraid and terrified. And the day I brought him home from the hospital, my mama moved back to Louisiana. So it was that feeling of, and now I'm alone to figure it out. She told me, if she gave me a choice, I came with them or Mario, my husband, had to find a place for us on our own that wasn't living with his mama, and that was the only way she would leave me behind. And I was like, well, I didn't want to go with my mama. I kind of did not want to see what the experience would be like, having always being the one taking care of my siblings and on now having a baby of my own. And this was a chance to like break free from that I was like, okay. Presented it to him. He found us a place. We got an apartment. By then, he dropped out of school and was working at Walmart because now he had 2 children to take care of. And we moved in together. It was fun. It was great. Postpartum depression hit me like a Mack truck. Maybe my baby was about 4 weeks when he got colicky, and then she had her baby. And watching that play out and watching him leave to go to appointments, her calling him all day, every day, telling him she loves him and she want him back, and me sitting there like, why are you even answering the phone and engaging in this with her? And then the part of me that sympathized with her, but it was almost like, you made your decision, it's time to start setting up boundaries. And just so y'all know, this video will be a little bit longer than I said because it doesn't feel like a good stopping point, but I'll wrap it up. Once she had her baby and stuff, and I started seeing him feeling pulled between the two, that I feel like it just, that added stress agitated the already vulnerable position I was in. And so I went through like really bad postpartum depression, and I mean, it rose to the level of thoughts of harming my son. And I never did. I reached out to my OBGYN. He offered me medication, but he was like, the side effects was like suicidal ideation. And I was like, well, I don't want to go from thinking of killing my baby to potentially ending up killing myself. So then he was like, I recommend you just stay around like friends and family and don't be alone with the baby. So I would just try to be around, but I could tell that everybody was kind of sick of me crying. And it's like, what are you crying? I was like, I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know why I'm unhappy. And the only thing that seemed to bring me any kind of joy or release was thinking of physically causing harm to my son. But you can't say that to people without them looking like you're crazy. Are they ready to make a CPS call? So it's just kind of like something I suffered in silence. Again, me and my mom didn't have a great relationship, so she wasn't like a person I could go to or lean on. All I had was my best friend from school at the time to kind of talk to every day, but she was still in high school, so it's like I gotta catch her when she get off the bus. Eventually, I came out of that. In the state of Georgia at the time, I don't know if they still have that program, but I don't know if it was for teen moms or what, but at the hospital, I got this information about this like social worker thing where she would come to my house once a week and bring me like information and pamphlets on how to take care of my baby and myself. And yeah, just information. Come talk about development, milestones, and stuff like that. Her name was Kenya, I believe. It was Kenya. She came every week, and I swear she saved me from losing my mind and maybe actually acting on anything that was going through my head at the time. My husband at the time was still going back and forth with these games with the baby mama. His mama was causing a lot of drama. I mean, I really didn't have anywhere to turn but this person who would just come, we'd sit down, she'd show me how to do tummy time with my baby. We talk about nursing, motherhood, recovery, like things you would want or expect to be a conversation between you and your mom. But she came and she just talked. Sometimes she stayed later than she should have, only because I guess she felt I needed it. And I've always been very appreciative and grateful for her, because I think later on I reached out to her on Facebook when I came across her name, and I was like, I just wanted you to know how impactful you were for me at that time. I don't think I would have made it without you coming to see me. I don't know what that program was, but it was a great program. And if it was for just teen moms, even better, because I remember that they would have like Christmas parties, and there was a Christmas party we went to where they got gifts for all the babies in whatever this program was, and it was other women, other young mothers who were either teens or have some kind of circumstance where they found themselves pregnant and alone. But this was through the state, like the Department of Family and Children's Services, because I remember meeting all those different girls and thinking, wow. But at the same time, this was like a sense of community, because we all were in a similar situation. And this one caseworker, or social workers, who brought us all together and look at the things our babies get to experience, haven't had this. So this one I feel like it's gonna be a heavy piece, but I could try to wrap it up with just saying a lot of drama back and forward. I ended up, he ended up moving out because his mom said she needed him to help her out. So he told me, you know, me and the baby had to go. And we went back to my mama's house in Louisiana, unhappy, miserable again. And it seemed like at that point it just became, do whatever you need to do. At least that's the way it seemed like his mom was directing him. So I didn't put him on child support, which that wasn't my intentions, because I was under the impression we were in a relationship. We just couldn't live together because of the demands she was putting on him. So at some point, me and my mom was having a lot of issues, and she was like demanding, like she wanted to carry my son on her taxes. She was demanding his birth certificate and other stuff, and I didn't understand what was her motives. Because she was like, oh, I can go get him WIC and stuff. I was like, well, I can do that. Like, I already had WIC from in Georgia. I can go set it up for myself. Like, I don't need you to set it up for me. And then I started becoming distrustful of her intentions, because it felt like she was trying to benefit some way, whether it's food stamps or something off my baby. So she gave me an ultimatum. Either I give her his birth certificate, or she was going to put his father on child support. And I'm like, why? How can you go put him on child support? And she's like, you're a child, and I could do whatever. And so I told him, I was like, well, you need to either go get the birth certificate, or you going on child support. Like, this is where I live. I'm 17. My school kicked me out. My mom promised she'd put me back in school if I came. And as soon as I got there and I asked her about enrolling, she looked me dead in my eyes and said, who go watch your baby? After she told me she'd help me. So it was just kind of that, I don't know what to do. This is where we're at. And he said, he talked to his mama, and she said for me to just come back to Georgia and stay with them. And at the time I thought, oh, she cared about me and wanted good for me and her grandchild, but really she just was always looking out for her son and not wanting him to be on child support. So it's almost like I always felt like at that time, and maybe to this day, she just tolerated me. And I really didn't care. I tolerated her too. But in the beginning, I actually thought she genuinely loved and cared about me. And that's the way I had always perceived her intentions. But slowly, the cracks start showing that she was never for me. And I get it. That's his mama. But right is right, wrong is wrong. But you know how some mamas be behind their sons. I just make sure to not make the same mistake with mine. And hold them accountable. I moved back in with them, and I feel like this is a good stopping point, because do y'all really need all the details of even more drama with the baby mama and us threatening to meet up and fight? Or we could skip to baby number 2 and moving to South Carolina and getting married. You know, let me know in the comments if you really want that space in between the drama and the marriage, or if we could just jump into when things start balancing out, when we got married, when stuff started to look like life was turning around or living for us.